maybe an unusual start, although we are talking about managing money. Managing money through income really is not about focusing on earning the income.
Sorry.
No, please help. Yeah, it's okay. Because that's earning. Then the next is not spending. There is a certain secret, right? You could earn and spend. I think the next, after you earn, the next focus should not be on spending, it's on saving. So before you think about spending, think about what you need to save from the income that you have earned. There's a fundamental assumption behind some of the points that are here. And increasingly, the influence, for many of us, are influenced by the American way of thinking, which is we don't save, we go on credit. That's the American society. We spend everything we earn, whatever we want to buy that we don't have money for, we borrow in order to spend. And increasingly that is becoming more and more popular. Let's say the whole American society is run that way. That's a culture. I don't think we are that it's not that prevalent here, but increasingly, especially among younger people, that seems to be the way of thinking. You can say this is probably very old school, but in the sense it is. Right? Personally, I believe that we should save to spend rather than spend first and then worry about paying for it later. Which means that we save for planned expenditure, we save for things that we know we will need in the future. Right? Whether it be our children's education, whether it be a deposit that we need to pay for a HDB flat when we're going to get married, or retirement, we know that and begin to think about it, right? For emergency needs, we cannot tell what those are, but they will come. And also for a period of uncertainty, which we are in right now, as we go through a very unpredictable global economic environment, will increase not only in terms of intensity, but frequency. Meaning that, although we have been very blessed, for many of us, we have never experienced unemployment or without a job. We should never take that for granted. And we have already seen in the last 10 years or so, for those who are laid off or lost their job in their 40s, sometimes it's more than a year to get the job back. Right? Sometimes it's 2 or 3 years, and hopefully not, but in some cases, you never get the job back. Which means that we do need to, it is our responsibility, particularly if you have a family that depends on you, to be able to anticipate that rather than to assume that that will never happen. And especially if you are the main breadwinner. Okay. So these are for me, the key major buckets to think about when we talk about saving. How much to save? These are, again, you hear different guidelines. I'm sure my other colleagues here will tell you a more scientific formula. But again, if you're looking at the potential of perhaps going for 6 months to a year, which is actually more or less the normal period if people are in between jobs. Beyond that, it's actually quite serious. Below that is really it's not so much, you're just switching job, right? You're in between job. But assuming that you're not earning income for 6 months to a year, how do you provide for a family? So it's probably a good thing to try to build a savings of those number of months of income so that your family can continue in case your income doesn't come for a period of time. The best way to do it is to just set aside a regular portion every month. A percentage of fixed dollar, and as your income go up, increase that. Right? Increase that because we're talking about months of salary. So as the salary go up, the same months of salary actually is a larger amount. So you do need to bring that in. Another way, if you are not able to have the discipline to save regularly, save a bonus. Don't take a bonus and go and splurge. Save a bonus. For many of us, our bonus can be 1, 2, 3 months, and that's actually quite substantial. So if you can save that at least We are not able to save a lot on a regular basis, but every year we will save a couple of months, at least 1 month or 2 months of our salary. That will help. And build it up slowly. Sometimes it's, I know some people say, I wanted to save, but in the end, I spend it. So if you really have to be more rigid with yourself, take it up and put into another account and don't see it, and don't touch it. That kind of helps to separate it. Because if you keep it in the same account where you charge your bills or your credit card, sometimes you forgot. We think, oh, we have some savings there, we think we have money we spend. So sometimes it's better to just set up a separate account and transfer it when you get a salary, transfer it there and don't see it and don't touch it. Spending. Wisdom in spending, in a sense, is really about making sure that your spending is sustainable and therefore within your means, which means is within your net income, not your salary. Net income meaning whatever you take home, less the taxes that you have to pay. We pay our taxes once a year. In many other jurisdictions, they pay as you earn, so automatically deducted, you don't see it. For us, we are not disciplined. When you pay your taxes a year after you have earned it, you don't have the money to pay, then we are always catching up. So you probably know your own tax bracket, set it aside. That is not money that's yours. That's money that's belong to the government. You just pay a year later, that's all, right? So you better set it aside. Remember, that's not your money. Taxes belong to Caesar. You have to. So take out your taxes. Take out your those that you're committed to give away to help others, to support others. Take away those that you need for family support. I know some of us have older parents that we are supporting or other siblings. Again, whatever you're committed to give to support, take it out. And the money that you've already decided to save, that also you should take out. So if you take your income, your take-home pay, take away all this, like say if you have no discipline, take it out and put it away in somewhere else so you don't see it. Alright? Then the balance is what you have to spend. Not that difficult to really see, but it's a good discipline so that we know how to spend within our means. The other thing is really a values question. When you're younger, as a professional, your income goes up quite fast. As you reach middle age, your income flattens out. So you tend to go up and then over time it flattens out, right? It is very tempting to allow our lifestyle to go up as our income go up. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? So it depends on your value. At some point, if you expect your lifestyle to continue to go up every year, and when your income plateau, you get into a habit that sometimes you cannot get out of. So part of the decision is that what do we really need? If my income goes so much, I don't have to spend all the extra income. I can give it away, I can save it, I can do it for I can use it for some other purpose. Limit the income, and when you talk about limit your lifestyle to a certain level, that becomes something that you and your family will have discussed. What is really something that we need? What do we really want? Even if I can afford it, does it mean that I need to buy it or I need to have something better? Right? The fact that you can afford it means it's legitimate for you to spend it. But the fact that you can afford it doesn't mean you have to spend it or you have to buy something. And that is not a question of right or wrong, that's a question of what is important to you. What do you want to do with the extra income that you have? Do you want to increase your saving? Do you want to spend it on something that you could not afford previously, or you want to upgrade something? But all those choices reflect what we believe to be important to us and have to be thought about carefully. Different seasons of life require different patterns of expenditure. Those of you who are slightly older, you know that your expenditure pattern change, right? When your children come, a lot of expenses are relating to your children. As the children grow and become have their own income earning capacity, leave the family, suddenly a lot of the spending that you have on them no longer are needed, but you may need to spend on elderly parents, healthcare and other needs. So there is shift. So I think we just need to be careful so that our budget doesn't become static. That we are sensitive to how our allocation of our resources shift over time in different seasons of our life. And also the priorities will change. I know some people say you need to track your budget every month. I find it very difficult. But it's actually a useful discipline. Once in a while, once a year, a couple of weeks or a couple of months, track it and say, hey, I think I'm spending my money that way, but is it really that way? So it's good to just occasionally track for a whole month to say, what am I really spending my money on? Personally, I find it difficult to track every day, every month, non-stop. And I after a while actually don't need to do it. I find there's no need because there's a certain consistency and a certain stability to it. But it's very good, especially when your seasons of life change and your spending habits are changing, to say, okay, I think I'm spending my money on this, but what is the reality? And kind of it's good to track it for a whole month because a lot of spending comes in monthly cycles. Your utility bills, your credit card payments. So a lot of payments come on a monthly cycle. If you track only for 1 week, you can't tell because you don't see some of that. Alright? And when you track it for a month, there's some expenditure that are yearly, there's some expenditure that are quarterly and so on. You just have to deliberately factor that in to make sure that it is still within what you are thinking about. Now, we all like to spend money when there's sales. Right? In Singapore, there are a lot of sales. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but make sure it's deliberate rather than impulsive. So you could say, okay, I want to buy this, but I'm not going to buy it now. I wait until there's a sale coming out. Black Friday is next Friday, right? Or 11/11 just passed. And then there's Christmas sales coming out. So there are plenty of sales. So it's actually wise to say, okay, I need this, I want to buy this, but let me wait a couple of weeks or wait a couple of months when it's on sale and I buy it. So make it deliberate, rather than just because it's a sale, you buy something that you don't need, which is impulsive. And a lot of us, if you go to a sales without thinking, you end up buying things you don't need. But if you say, okay, I need this, I want to buy it, but let me wait for a good discount before I buy. That's actually a good habit to do. Definitely don't buy what you cannot afford, and personally, don't buy on credit. I never buy on credit. I don't believe in buying on credit. And therefore, if you cannot afford it, save until you can afford it to buy. And if you look at all financial crises, not just in Singapore, all over the world, they're almost always triggered by collapse in property prices. Singaporeans are very sanguine. They believe that property prices never drop. They believe it's a sure win. Be careful, right? We have very short memories. Do not speculate, do not gamble. You speculate, you gamble when you buy things without understanding. When you buy a stock, when you buy a property, when you buy an investment without understanding, you are gambling. Period. Even if you do not intend to gamble, you are gambling. Those of us who are near retirement or middle age and above, I think investment, we should begin to shift from trying to make a lot of money through capital appreciation more to building passive income that give us a continuing stream of income so that when we no longer have full-time employment, we have regular income. Right? So passive income can come if you have an investment property from the rental. Passive income can come from the dividend from stock which are safe, that doesn't go belly up. But who doesn't go up, the capital price, the capital appreciation is not a humongous, but they give you regular stream of dividend income. So different kinds of income, right? Used to be, if you go back 10 years, 15 years ago, the passive income come from interest that we get from the bank. 20 years ago, the bank interest for saving is 5-6%. Today, it's less than 0.5%. Not even enough to cover inflation. So today, passive income from putting money in fixed deposit and in savings alone is not good enough. Okay, because to do that, actually the buying power of money goes down. So you need to look for other sources of passive income, which means you do need to take some risk, which means you need to know what you are buying. Okay? Let me say that again. If you don't know what you're buying and you buy anyway, you're gambling. Don't kid yourself. And a lot of times, we just look on the headline interest rate or return. The reason why in the last 3 years, so many people lose so much money from the corporate bonds, especially perpetual bonds. The companies are selling perpetual bonds at 5%, 6%. It looks so attractive because you only get 0.5% on your bank. But the underlying risk of those companies, they should be paying you 20% for the risk you are taking, not 5%. But because we don't know to understand the business risk involved in those companies, remember, when you are buying a corporate bond, perpetual bond means that the company has no obligation to pay you back the capital at all. You realize that? And a lot of people buy perpetual bonds without understanding that there's no legal obligation to pay you back the capital. That means if a company go bankrupt or got in trouble, you essentially not only don't get your interest payment, your capital is at stake. It's very high risk. But we are deceived. I'm not saying we are out to deceive us, but we don't understand. Therefore, we buy based on the headline interest rate, 5% perpetual. But perpetual is very risky, and we don't understand that. So be careful. If you do not understand the risk, don't buy. Talk to some people, get advice. If you still don't understand, don't buy. I can tell you that most of the relationship managers of your banks who service you do not understand what they are selling. Be very careful, yeah.
I have a question.
Allow us to fulfill the purpose, the roles and responsibilities that we have been entrusted with. And the resources that we have, primarily money, allows us to do that well. So in a sense, we are a steward. We need to be careful how we do it. Managing money reveals our values, reinforces our principle, it builds our character. It is a good testing ground. A lot of what you say you believe get tested when you make decisions about money. You know whether you are really who you say you are. And it's revealing, but it helps us to then calibrate and think through again, what does this reflect about what I believe in, what does this reflect about me, and therefore, how should I be managing those money that I have. Living is more important than money, relationships are more important than material things. I think we all know that, and oftentimes we learn that only when we make big mistakes. Then we realize that it's not worth the trade-off. If we put our faith, our trust, and our security in money, we will be disappointed. Regular financial crisis, almost once every 10 years, I think reminds us that this is not something that we can count all our lives on. That really our faith and our security has to be in something more permanent, not money. And in Economics 101, we say money is a form of exchange. What are we exchanging our money for? Are we exchanging money only for goods and material things that we can spend on ourselves? Or are we exchanging our money for things that are more valuable, for things that we, when at the end of our life, we look back and say it is worth exchanging that money for? And our faith in a God that's really sovereign and in charge of Even our capacity, we forget. Their capacity to earn the money itself is not within our control. Our health is not within our control. Our life is not within our control. So a lot of times when we look at money management, a lot of the practices and principles assume a degree of permanence and presumes a degree of stability that's usually not there. And we are deceived if we just listen to some of those. So it's good to take a step back and say, look, this is not a stable form of, not stable enough, not permanent enough for me to put all my security and faith. I need to put my security and faith, the God I believe in something that will last beyond what the money can buy.